Hello friends, welcome to Spoken Quora, where we dive into the heart of some of the most impactful books out there, delivering insightful and concise summaries to spark your curiosity and fuel your personal growth. Let's dive into Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. This summary will explore an important question: what exactly will you gain from reading or listening to it? The answer lies in understanding that, in today's professional world, people tend to emphasize quantity over quality. This shift has turned young professionals into something akin to puppets, compelled to juggle multiple emails, projects, and tasks simultaneously. As a result, they often resort to multitasking, which detracts from the quality of their work. Deep work is all about focusing intensely on a single task without any distractions, ensuring that quality takes precedence. In essence, Newport, a graduate of MIT and the author of this book, argues that the best way to escape the corporate race is to take a break from technology and social media. By doing so, professionals can carve out time for self-reflection, identifying their areas for improvement and refining their skills. Deep work is crucial, not just because distractions are a bad habit but because focused effort can take you from point A to point B efficiently. The summary is divided into two parts. The first part is titled The Idea, which contains 3 chapters. In the first chapter, Newport explains why deep work is valuable. He argues that if you want to make a significant impact in society, you need 2 core abilities: 1, the ability to learn challenging things quickly, and 2, the ability to complete any important task with both quality and speed. Achieving quality work, Newport suggests, can be simplified into an equation. Quality work produced equals time spent x intensity of focus. In other words, if you want to do quality work, you should either invest more time or increase your focus. Top students at well-recognized schools understand this equation intuitively. By increasing their focus, they can produce high-quality work in less time. However, to work with deep focus, you need to avoid multitasking, which has become a routine habit in our modern lives. Researcher Sophie Leroy, for instance, shows that a phenomenon called attention residue occurs when you switch from task A to task B without completing task A. Your mind remains partially preoccupied with task A, even as you attempt to focus on task B. The attention residue concept tells us that when this residue is intense, it negatively impacts how well you perform on task B. By mastering the techniques of deep work, as explained in the summary, and applying them in your life, you can begin to produce high-quality work in less time. Now, let's move on to Chapter 2, which discusses how deep work is becoming rare. Tom Cohen observed that every day, he spent about an hour and a half reading and replying to emails. He wondered about the impact this had on his company and his individual contribution to it. By gathering data, such as email typing speed, reading speed, and employees' salaries, and analyzing it, he found that each email took about 195 cents in labor cost. Many companies, like Facebook, are adopting an open space office concept where employees can interact and share ideas freely. However, this also introduces distractions, pulling employees away from deep work. Often, people mistake busyness for productivity. Lacking clear knowledge of how to be truly valuable or productive in their jobs, many knowledge workers make the same mistake. They show productivity by taking on multiple tasks at once, thinking this is a sign of efficiency. Employees start working on any task in front of them, giving the impression that they are accomplishing a lot. Given today's trends, any work related to the internet is often considered productive. These are some of the reasons deep work is becoming rare. But, ironically, this scarcity is actually good news for those who can perform deep work. They can outperform and surpass their colleagues with ease. Moving on to Chapter 3, which emphasizes that deep work is meaningful. Take Rick Furrer, a blacksmith and a specialist in ancient metalworking practices. He meticulously creates each piece in his shop. If he needs to forge a sword, it might take him 8 hours of careful work, where each hammer stroke must strike a precise spot on the blade. This kind of work demands intense concentration and is free from distractions. You won't be surprised to know that Rick has no social media accounts, as his ability to focus deeply affects the quality of his life and enriches his experience. Similarly, Laura, who studies brain activity in patients, uses an MRI scanner to see how a part of the brain called the amygdala reacts to positive and negative images. She noticed that younger patients responded emotionally to both positive and negative images, while older patients mainly reacted to the positive ones. This doesn't mean the older patients were happier, but rather that their brains had adapted to focus on positive experiences over negative ones. By managing their attention this way, they had created a somewhat improved version of the world for themselves, remarkably, all achieved simply by changing their thoughts, not their external environment. This highlights that small things that feel positive can indeed have profound impacts on our lives. Simple activities like checking emails, catching up with an old friend, or discussing office policies can create a mental image that life is filled with stress, tension, and even depression. This is often because your attention is divided across many small, inconsequential things. So, it's essential to choose your goals carefully and devote your full focus to them. In other words, aim to live a focused life, which is ultimately the best way to achieve fulfillment. A renowned psychologist, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, introduced a technique called experience sampling method, ESM, where people record their feelings in real-time moments. This method shows that the best moments in life often occur when your mind and body are fully engaged in pursuing something challenging and valuable. This mental state, known as flow, has even inspired books on achieving this ideal state. With this, part 1, the idea, comes to an end. Now, moving on to part 2, which is the rules. To achieve deep work, there are certain rules and methods. The first method is to work deep, inspired by the Greek concept of eudaimonia machine. This is a designated space where a person can reach their full potential and extreme focus. The eudaimonia machine consists of 5 interconnected rooms, leading to a final space designed for ultimate concentration. In this 5-room setup, you cannot bypass any stage. Room 1 introduces mild stress, signaling the importance of the task. Room 2 awakens curiosity about the work, making you eager to start. In Room 3, you gather all necessary resources, so you don't need to leave once you begin working. Room 4 is where you jot down all your work-related ideas. Finally, Room 5 is soundproof and isolated, allowing for deep work without any disturbance. Here, you can concentrate for 19 minutes, followed by a 19-minute break, maximizing the efficiency of your brain. Unfortunately, this vision is far from our current reality. Instead, we are often confined to open spaces and find ourselves engaged in what the book describes as shallow work, tasks that require minimal mental effort and yield uncertain results. Shallow work has become an obligation, something that takes away from more meaningful productivity. However, by following the rules outlined in deep work, you can incorporate the same focus and impact into your work. Imagine being inside a eudaimonia machine. The key to developing a deep work habit is to go beyond good intentions and actively strive to reach a focused state daily. To achieve this, you incorporate routines and steps into your working life that use minimal willpower, helping you maintain an unbroken concentration. Think of willpower as a mobile battery that drains over time, so minimizing its use preserves focus. Here are 4 strategies to help you reach a deep work state. 1. The monastic approach. This strategy is based on isolating yourself from every distraction, similar to a monk who avoids all interruptions. For instance, if you're preparing for a major exam, you might cut off communication with everyone except close family to avoid disruptions. A prime example is Donald Knuth, a famous computer scientist. He removed his email address from his Stanford website with a note saying that since January 1, 1990, he's been content without it. Knuth uses his time for uninterrupted study, relying on postal mail instead, where his assistant filters the important letters. Practitioners of this monastic approach often have a well-defined and valued professional goal, which they pursue rigorously. 2. The bimodal approach, ideal for those who cannot completely isolate themselves. This strategy allows for both focused and everyday activities. A well-known example is revolutionary psychologist Carl Jung. He spent hours in solitude, writing, and then took walks to reflect, but also balanced his time by attending lectures and working at his clinic. Following this philosophy, you divide your time into focused, deep work periods and general work times. During your deep work slot, you disconnect completely, for example, studying with your phone off for 2 hours, then stepping out and re-engaging with everyday life for an hour. The bimodal philosophy believes in maximizing productivity through bursts of deep work followed by regular, less intensive work. These strategies illustrate different ways to structure a life that balances focus with real-world demands, ultimately aiming to increase both productivity and fulfillment. To fully benefit from deep work, one must work with maximum concentration, reaching a mental state where true breakthroughs happen. Here are 2 techniques that can help you achieve this state. 3. The rhythmic approach, also called the chain method. This technique encourages consistency in daily practice. Choose a specific time each day for your deep work. Once you've completed the task, mark it with a large red cross on your calendar. Keep building this chain daily, aiming to avoid any breaks in the pattern. 4. The journalist approach, ideal for those with busy schedules. This approach involves grabbing any available time, even short intervals, for deep work. Like a journalist, take advantage of any free half-hour for focused work. For instance, if you know you're free from 5 to 5:30 p.m., switch off your phone, find a quiet spot, and dive into your most critical tasks. Another example of structured deep work comes from Charles Darwin's rigorous routine, as described by his son Francis. Darwin would rise at 7 a.m., take a short walk, have breakfast alone, and then study from 8 to 9:30 a.m. He would then review letters for an hour before diving into more study until midday. His daily walk around his property allowed him to deeply process challenging ideas until he felt satisfied with his thoughts. Similarly, planning in advance where and for how long you'll work creates a structured environment for deep focus. This approach doesn't come naturally. Implement rules and processes to create an interruption-free workspace. Turn off the internet, and think ahead about how you'll support your focus. For instance, start with a coffee to set the mood and prepare all materials in advance so you don't waste mental energy deciding what to do in the moment. The grand gesture, sometimes, a significant change or investment can enhance deep work. J.K. Rowling, for example, finished her final Harry Potter book not at home but in a quiet, high-end hotel, where distractions like barking dogs and children's noise couldn't reach her. This investment in a peaceful environment allowed her to immerse herself fully in her writing. Lastly, working alone or collaborating can both aid productivity but in different ways. Solitude promotes deep thinking, but occasional collaboration can spark new ideas. If you work with like-minded individuals who share a similar focus, it can complement your solo deep work efforts. Embracing these approaches helps you integrate deep work into a demanding schedule, ultimately enhancing both your productivity and mental clarity. Success is inevitable when you approach work with discipline, as demonstrated by Intel's working strategy based on published research. This research emphasizes that a CEO must not only know what to do but also understand the how, a distinction clarified through the 4 disciplines of execution, which can be applied to deep work. Let's look at how these principles apply. 1. Focus on the widely important. Instead of juggling numerous goals, hone in on the most crucial objective, in this case, deep work. This focused approach channels motivation more effectively than scattering attention across smaller tasks. 2. Act on lead measures. Improvement requires feedback, and there are 2 ways to measure performance: lag measures and lead measures. For example, if you're a student preparing for a mock test, your test scores are lag measures, outcomes you can't change afterward but provide valuable feedback. On the other hand, setting aside an hour daily for weak subjects is a lead measure, as it actively influences future performance. Both measures are essential to see growth in specific areas. 3. Keep a compelling scoreboard. Tracking progress can enhance motivation and competitiveness. Keeping a record of your achievements and setbacks provides real-time insight into your progress, encouraging consistency and improvement. 4. Be accountable. Check your scores weekly to hold yourself accountable, keeping motivation high and making this a regular habit. While productivity is the aim, remember that downtime has its benefits. Laziness, surprisingly, can be advantageous. Grant yourself moments to unplug and unwind. Here's why rest is essential. Performance boost. Rest improves performance by allowing your unconscious mind to tackle complex information better than when the conscious mind is active. This enhances problem-solving and decision-making abilities. Recharge energy. Rest helps recharge your energy, making you more effective in deep work sessions. Prevent burnout. Constant activity drains energy, making it difficult to focus on deep work later. If you've spent your day in shallow work, it's natural to feel drained and less effective by evening. So, schedule rest intentionally to improve focus and productivity. Embrace boredom. Another critical method is embracing boredom, inspired by a man who read religious texts each morning with complete focus. By repeatedly reading the same book, he trained his mind to concentrate deeply every day. This example shows that we all have the ability to achieve strong concentration through practice. It requires effort and persistence, but it's entirely achievable. Also, keep in mind the importance of structured breaks. Take breaks while maintaining focus rather than losing focus to take breaks. This subtle shift can significantly enhance your ability to stay undistracted and on task. These methods build both discipline and resilience in your work habits, ultimately helping you achieve the deep focus required for breakthrough productivity. If we consider the first point, even if your job requires heavy internet use, such as replying to numerous emails, this strategy can still be effective for you. Secondly, regardless of how you schedule your internet intervals, it's essential to carve out strict offline time for yourself, time without any internet use at all. Third, by establishing specific times to use the internet at home or work, you can significantly improve your concentration. Rule 3. Quit social media. This might sound tough, but the book explains why it could be beneficial. Tund, known by his friends as the world's most connected person, decided to disconnect from his online life for 25 days. By the end of the first week, he started to adapt, and his life's pace slowed down. Though he eventually went back online, he approached it with a different mindset. Completely quitting isn't always practical, nor is it a solution. Rather, using the internet mindfully, including social media, can be beneficial. Social media can sometimes be an asset in achieving certain goals if you focus on its positive aspects. The 80-20 rule. Applying the 80-20 rule to your work means that 20% of your efforts likely produce 80% of the results. So, it's beneficial to invest as much time as possible in that crucial 20% to yield the most impactful outcomes. Consider disconnecting from the internet for 30 days as an experiment. If you realize that these days are enjoyable or that people aren't missing your online presence as much as you thought, continue this offline lifestyle. However, if you find that you're missing out on something, then resume your internet use. Most people work for 8 hours daily, meaning they have 16 hours free. Why waste all that time surfing the web? Instead, this time can be used for self-development activities that promote personal growth. To avoid boredom, decide in advance what to do with this free time, making you more productive and efficient. Rule 4. Drain the shallow. 37 Signals, a software company, reduced its workweek from 5 days to 4 without seeing a drop in productivity. Although it might seem counterintuitive, this change was possible because the employees dedicated themselves to completing tasks efficiently, eliminating shallow work almost entirely. When you replace shallow work with deep work, you'll start to see extraordinary results. By implementing these techniques, you can achieve a disciplined approach to deep work, boosting your focus and productivity while reducing reliance on constant online connectivity. Yes, indeed, pushing yourself to your physical limits in deep work is key. Studies suggest that 4 hours is the maximum productive time for deep work. For rare individuals, it might be different, but if you commit to deep work, you'll likely achieve in 4 hours what others may take 8 hours to accomplish. What is shallow work? Shallow work involves tasks that don't require much mental effort and can often be done lazily or with frequent distractions. Those who engage mainly in shallow work don't add much value and are easily replaceable. To overcome shallow work, it's essential to minimize access to yourself, meaning others should reach out only when necessary. This way, the sender values your time and only sends you important messages, and you respond only if truly necessary. If checking emails or responding does not align with your valuable time, the sender may refrain from contacting you altogether. This helps eliminate unnecessary shallow work. When replying, think deeply about what you wish to convey. A clear, concise answer with a conclusion is more valuable than a roundabout reply. Another option is to simply not respond, if the message lacks a clear question or proposal, doesn't benefit you, or if not replying won't cause harm, then it's better not to engage at all. Key takeaways. In summary, we've explored the difference between deep and shallow work and learned 4 deep work strategies: monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, and journalistic approaches. The most important takeaway is understanding how to minimize distractions from social media and the internet. If you apply all these rules, you'll not only improve your focus on deep work but also have more time for family and friends. So friends, that was our book summary for today. How did you like it? Be sure to let us know in the comments, and thank you.